Hey, my name is Gelly, and this is my co-commentator, Katie Moon.
Hello.
And today we'll be playing Shivers, full Exupi run SR Red Door. I don't remember the name; it's rather complicated. But I've got it all set up for the randomizer. We've got the file set up here, so we're just gonna get the scooching and shooching here. So time starts when I turn away from this fence. So 3, 2. Oh, my timer's not enabled. That would have been bad. 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So while I do a bunch of introductory things that are sort of irrelevant to how fast the run can go in terms of RNG, I will explain what Shivers is. So this is Shivers, a 1995 point-and-click adventure game by Sierra. Yes, that sounds about right. This is a horror game. It comes after Myst came out, so it's first person. And while a lot of people consider this maybe not so good of a game, or even perhaps like a cult classic, I think it's great for a variety of reasons. A, the atmosphere is fantastic, and it sort of presents itself in a rather interesting way. And also, it's got a built-in randomizer. So the point of the game is that you're supposed to find 20 different pieces, which correspond to 10 different elements. So there's a top piece and a bottom piece that corresponds to like cloth or oil or what have you. And then you use those pots once you construct them to capture different demons. So it's like clay Ghostbusters or what have you. So most of this introductory stuff is just getting into the museum after the beginning of the game, which is irrelevant because the plot is lame as heck. So while we're getting there, I guess, Katie, if you would like to explain the elevator skip that I did back there, and I guess other sound skips that might be coming up.
Yeah, so going into that initial tunnel, right before we got on this boat, Gilly did a quick about 4 or 5 second skip where you turn on the generator that will power the lights into that tunnel. You go in and out of the exit menu really fast, and it will skip a cutscene of the lights powering on, the music booting up, and things like that. One of the unique things about this game is that a lot of the load times and the lag times of this game are based on sound. There are 5 different sound channels that are operating in this game. And if you can find different glitches and different things to kind of fill those sound channels, then when you're flying through the museum, you're not necessarily bogged down by the sounds of different room music loading or creaky door sounds or other sound effects. But their sound skips are very, very time costly, so they're not often done in speed runs. It's more of a fun thing to do and mess around with this game, but you'll notice that most of our load times are based around the sounds of the room loading.
Mm-hmm. So I just looked at my first piece, which happened to be Metal Bottom. Um, for the sake of explaining, I guess I'll say that Metal Bottom there is okay, but it's not like the best. I could have a very different set of pieces. Okay, so I'm holding cloth here. Oh, that's metal. Okay. All right, yeah, let's go capture our
There you
first
go.
Itsupi. All right, choo-choo. This doesn't happen often where you have 2 pieces right next to each other at the very beginning. So
All
we'll be
right.
able to demonstrate what happens here when you pick up your second piece. You're normally only able to hold 1 piece at a time or 1 pot at a time. So now that I have the full metal array here, I'm going to be able to capture an Exupi over here, which inhabits this bronze unicorn. This is the most convenient way for me to get metal. So I'm going to be listening in. Nope. All right. So I'm going to start farming, and Katie, you can explain what happens here.
Sure. So there's 10 different ghosts that kind of haunt this museum, and like Ellie said, they're elemental based. So the ghost in question that we're trying to catch right now is metal, and so we have the corresponding pot to catch that ghost, which we just did. But to find the ghosts, you have to find different locations that they kind of camp around in the museum, and they're usually affinitive to things of that material that they're made of. So in that, the bronze horse or
You
unicorn
have
statue
stepped into the
made out
world
of
of
metal, that's
amazing
one of the places
plants.
that the metal ghost can kind of hang out. There are different locations throughout the museum that they could randomly be in at any given time. So one of the things that we do in the speed run is we try to go in and out of the spawn radius of the location of where we're trying to get them to spawn over and over and over again until the RNG either graces us or doesn't grace us, and then the ghost will show up and we can catch it from there. But every single ghost that is in this museum has several different locations that they can be lurking at any given time, and it's really just based on luck on whether or not they decide to show up for you or not.
So I'm currently going into the... Am I I'm bad. Yeah. I'm currently going into the theater arrangement over here. Like I've explained, I can only hold one piece at a time, so it's important for me to go into the theater holding no pieces, because I'll be able to bring whatever pieces at the top of this down without having to ever return. Because if you have a pot in hand and you want to pick up another pot piece, you have to switch the pieces. You can't hold both pieces at once, because you can only hold one. Most of these puzzles, especially the ones that hold back different pieces, are pretty self-explanatory. There's nothing super interesting. We'll get to Mastermind at some point, and that's sort of an interesting one, but besides that, most of these are just spell Jeffrey or whatever. So it's no big deal. It's just a matter of doing it and then trying to figure out where to put pieces afterwards.
Yeah, the majority of the puzzles in this game all have set solutions, but the distribution of the puzzle pieces is randomized every single time. So like that hieroglyphics door puzzle that Gelly just did, the set solution is the same every single time, but the distribution of the pieces, where it might take 3 clicks to spawn, it might take 5 clicks to spawn, it might take 20 clicks to, get it to work. It's really, just if the RNG gods are being graceful or not. Gelly kind of mentioned a puzzle that's known as Mastermind, or a password that we'll encounter later on in the game. That is the true kind of run killer of this, because there really isn't really a great way to speed run the puzzle besides just using logic and solving it, but you'll see that later on in the run.
The piece that I currently have is power, and that's why I was making a really disgusted face about it, because power is a really bad choice, especially early on in the run. Why is power special? Go ahead.
Sure. So like I said, there are 10 different ghosts that are floating around this museum. The one of the 10 is the electricity or lightning or power exupy or ghost, and that is kind of the big bad of the game. And so in the vanilla game, you cannot catch that ghost until the very, very end of the game. And so you don't find the pot piece or pieces to that pot until the very end of the game. With the randomizer version of this, you can find those at any given point, and it's really annoying to find them very early on, because you're looking for things that you can do immediately, and it's really just kind of a time waste to find that piece in place of something that we could actually use right now. So if you find the lightning piece early on, you kind of just have to stash it somewhere and remember where it is. Like Ellie was saying before, a lot of the struggle with this speed run is the limited inventory space. You can only have one pot piece at a time in your inventory, and so a lot of this speed run is based on memory and just remembering where you're leaving what, because you eventually have to go back and get all of those different pot pieces when you're ready to catch that ghost. And because this game has a built-in randomizer, you could have two, even in the vanilla game, you could have 2 files that have all of the pot pieces in completely different locations. And so every single speed run of this is different, and you have to have a different memory set every time.
Yeah. I'd rather have less pieces in my running memory than I do. Hold on, I'm listening.
Yeah, absolutely. So every single exupy has an audio cue of when you know when it's nearby. It'll either like some creepy music will start, or some shuffling sounds or other creepy sounds will show up. So the audio is kind of important to know where the exupy are at any given time, and whether or not it will be there when you need it to be there. So Gelly just caught the cloth exupy, which is one of 2 exupy out of the 10 that are very important. There are 2 exupy, the cloth exupy and the tar exupy, which we have not encountered yet, block certain areas of the museum that we need to get to find other pot pieces for the exupy or the ghosts. So now that we have the cloth exupy captured, there's an additional area in this museum that we can now access to get additional pieces. So you can kind of get, soft blocked in this game a little bit, where you need a piece that's behind the cloth, but you don't know where the cloth is, and you're kind of blocked at that point.
Yeah.
One other fun... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. Tell more fun. This is boring.
Oh, yeah. So you're seeing Gelly set these color-coded skull dials that are scattered around the museum. This is due to a puzzle that is a long-standing puzzle that is beyond, or kind of for a museum scavenger hunt. You actually find a museum pamphlet of when this museum was actually supposed to open to the public, which it never did for the lore. And there are 6 different skull dials that you have to set to varying different colors scattered throughout the museum. all 6 of those encode to a certain door that is at the end of the run. And if you don't have all 6 of those dials set to the specific colors, then that door will not open. And it's one of the most sinking feelings ever, because it's the easiest thing to forget in a run to, go to one of those skull dials, especially because a lot of them aren't in areas that we find pieces. So not areas that we necessarily need to go to.
Like there's one up here that I usually forget in a red door run, because normally the direction that I get to this particular thing is from an entirely different direction. But instead I'm going through the backwards direction, so I have to force myself to remember I have to turn here in order to get this dial, which we should talk about the red door. That's also important.
Oh yeah, so one of the individuals in our community that goes by the name Goddelfire is actually the one that coded the randomizer software that Gelly's using right now. And there are different settings that are in this museum or in the randomizer that you can toggle to kind of customize the game a little bit. So that red door that Gelly went through right before turning on that music box, normally there's a really time wasting jigsaw puzzle that you have to solve to be able to use that door. And typically in speedruns we don't bother with it because you can get to both sides of that door from other means. It's just a lot faster. But there is a setting in the randomizer software where you can just turn off that puzzle and just make that door easily used. And it really, really is game changing when you speedrun this game. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, because normally you have 2 dead ends where that red door meets, and so you have to go through the back rooms, and it's a pain. But by having that as a shortcut, it really sort of revolutionizes how you think about how you can put those pieces together, almost to a fault where it'll mess up like vanilla runs or runs that don't have the red door unlocked, because it's like, oh, I can't bring that piece to there, I have to go all the way back. So
Right. And transitioning between the 2 settings of using the red door and not using the red door is tricky, because you get used to being able to use it, and then you go to try and go through it in a normal vanilla run and you can't, and then you curse the world. Also recently, let's just comment on the fact that the water exupy was hanging out in the one functional toilet in the museum. So talk about architectural flaws and just things you never want to deal with.
I think it's against code. I think you need
I would
more
imagine.
bathrooms than that. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and you just find the other piece of lightning as well, which is not what we want.
No, absolutely not. This puzzle, and actually the puzzle that I just did, the UFO, also have some rather interesting solutions, because the way that they were each randomized, the sort of underlying logic behind them is bad, in that there are different tricks that you can use in order to find out where the pieces are, because it does it in ways that are extremely predictable.
Right, so those 2 puzzles, the like I said, the randomization of the placement of the puzzle pieces is random, but other people in the community figured out the trick behind the randomization, and so with looking for certain things, you can actually figure out like which configuration this puzzle is, and be able to solve it much quicker than you would if you just had to power through it. So now we're going to try and get the wax exupy to spawn into this cobra statue, which again is just going in and out of the radius of the spawn area from that statue. And every spawn location that an exupy can hang out in, there's a set of clicks that you can go away and back to it that will get it to show up in that location. So one big thing of speedrunning this game is memorizing not only all the spawn locations, but all of the areas that you need to go to be able to reset it and try and get it to show up. And like I said before, this game is all, or especially speedrunning this game, is all RNG. And sometimes the exupy will show up right when you want it, and sometimes it takes upwards of 10 to 20 tries to be able to get it to show up. So kind of bad luck there, but you got it.
That was one of the worst wax I've ever had, so
yeah,
pretty hard. Y'all got to see that.
Marathon luck.
Ash over here. You would think it'd be weird to be leaving pieces behind, but I do it on an extremely regular basis because of the fact that I only can carry one piece at a time, and Ash right there is in close proximity to the place that I want to happen to catch Ash. It would be extremely unusual, especially at this point, to try to capture it somewhere else. I mean, it's totally possible. I've never had a situation where I've been like, oh yeah, I'm going to capture Ash in the fireplace in the office, which is normally where you capture it in vanilla.
I mean, besides vanilla, yeah.
So
each exupy out of all of them, without lightning, or other than lightning, each exupy there are anywhere from 2 to 4 different locations that they can be caught throughout the museum, and so you want to leave those puzzle pieces or the pot pieces as close to one of those spawn locations as possible, so that when you are able to assemble that pot, you're right there, you can catch it right away. Another sound skip that Gelly just did there. kind of hesitated for a moment before hanging that guy in the gallows. To do that, we're waiting for an audio cue in the background music for this extra sound to show up, and which will fill one of those sounds, and it will actually skip a loading time of that man falling into the gallows and saves about 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah. It seems weird that you'd have to wait for that now to actually save time, but that is something
It does.
over time, the more that I've run
Yeah.
this, the more I've been like, yeah, that absolutely is way better than having to hear a man scream for his life.
Right. For more ways than one.
So we're running and zooming here because I have the oil Exupi, and this is one that I prefer to have earlier rather than later, especially because it has two aspects to it. First, it hides a piece, like we've mentioned before, so having the oil Exupi is going to let me have another piece for basically free. But the other thing about it is that in those oil mazes, there's a skull dial, one of the 6 that we need to turn. If I don't have access to this pot like early, which is a thing that can happen, and thankfully we haven't encountered it, I have to run all the way down there to intentionally turn that skull dial and then come all the way back up. Whereas once you have oil here, I'll be able to go through a back door, essentially. But yeah,
Yeah, there's about a what is it, like a 1 in 20 chance that one of the pieces, or I guess it would be 1 in 10 chance really, that one of the pieces of the oil Exupi pot would be behind that skull dial door, which means you would have to go through that maze, go set this dial, go backwards through the maze, back upstairs just to go through the skull door to get the oil pot to come all the way back down here, go through the maze again, and it's obnoxious. So thankfully that didn't happen in this case.
Thankfully. Okay, so I'm having a bit of a problem because I have forgotten where a piece is. We have time, but
We have some time.
do you remember, by chance, where I might have left wood top?
I know that you saw it.
I was carrying it for a while there.
I know you were. That's the
fine.
kicker. Yeah, just check a couple areas.
I
Theater,
know
maybe?
this happens a lot where you forget a piece because you're trying to remember a lot of pieces. Like I knew where sand was. That was cool. I'm going to be able to do sand in like 3 seconds here. But
absolutely.
Okay,
yeah,
so
that's one of the things about this run is it's all memory based and no 2 runs are the same. So you almost have to like clean slate your brain before each run every time.
Yeah. I have a strategy. It's not going to be pleasant. Normally I remember the piece by now, but I don't. And that's cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it with me, and we're going to run through the museum a little bit, and we're going to be looking through all the places that I've had pieces before.
Nice
and we'll find it eventually.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you do. Plus, the nice benefit is that most of the good wood spawns, so that piece is for the wood Exupi, and most of those spawns are upstairs. So and the spawn locations are pretty close to one another and they're pretty centralized. So once you do find it, catching it should be no brainer.
All right, that makes sense.
Hey,
oh, right here too. Okay, yeah, that was planned. I knew where everything was. Okay, so now all I've got is ash crystal. And
the RNG blessed you on that one.
I left power bottom somewhere. We were straight up talking about it, and then I was like, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know I'm gonna have to go down this slide soon.
Yeah.
I don't have. I don't want to leave power top here, but I'm going to. Okay, so at some point I'm gonna have to grab power top there. Power bottom I left somewhere. I have crystal bottom and ash bottom also in the works. So what's gonna happen here is since I know where power bottom existed somewhere, I'm gonna go over here, which has 2 pieces, so it's gonna be crystal and ash, and from there we'll be able to probably find power bottom somewhere else. I don't exactly remember. Okay, so this is Mastermind. I'm gonna be using
this is Mastermind.
A curated strat here. Shoutouts to Kieran, who works on these sorts of strats. Let's see here. So 2, 3. It's very hard to explain the thought process. Okay, so that is suspicious, isn't it? Let's see. 1, 2.
So how this puzzle works, while you figure this out, is that there's a randomized configuration of 5 symbols that we need to get, and we only have 10 tries to do it. You get 10 points for every right symbol in the right configuration, and you get 1 point for every right symbol in the wrong configuration. Nicely done.
Yeah, that was fine.
So sometimes you get a great RNG on that. Sometimes you have to reset it and try it 2 or 3 times. And that's one of the lengthiest things that can kill a run. This
Yeah.
marbles puzzle is one of the most dreaded puzzles in the game. It has a set solution, so it's really easy to speed run. But anyone that has ever blind ran this for fun or will blind run this in the future, you will curse and hate yourself for this puzzle.
Uh-oh. Hold on. All right, hold on. What's the top skull? I
You
didn't
want
turn
one of
it
the
on.
blue ones, right?
Is that one of the blue ones? Okay,
Was
so
it?
did I not do museum? What's the
Yeah.
other blue one? Oh,
The
did I not do burial chamber? I could have sworn I did
maybe,
burial chamber.
maybe. Yeah. So this is the kicker is that you want to try and remember these skull dials. Most of the skull dials aren't in areas that you're normally spending a lot of time with, so it's really easy to forget them. And it's that sinking feeling because you don't get hit with it until the very end of the game where you have that pit in your stomach as you hit that button, and then if all 6 of them light up, like awesome. But if not, then yeah, F.
It must have
But
been this one. I bet you. Here, hold on. Let me check
but
this.
you have an
Yep.
amazing time right now. We have more than enough time to switch.
So we'll watch us go down the slide.
Wow.
One of the best movies in the game.
That's all right. You had to go down here anyway. It's fine.
Yes and no. I should have taken the slide down instead of having to do that ridiculousness. But
I mean, do we have? Oh, and we do have to now. Yeah, that's okay. You gotta go up the stairs. You're fine.
I have to farm this.
Yeah.
then-
So the best place to catch. So we have the pot for the crystal exupy right now, and the best way to catch that is in that chandelier in the main room of the museum. So again, we're just kind of going in and out of that spawn location, trying to get it to show up. And when we hear the twinklies of the chandelier, we know it's there. So now we are one step closer to go mode.
I'm still trying to remember how bottom is. I'm having a time here.
I know we saw it.
We were literally talking about it as I had it. Cause
Yeah, I know the top is in planetarium.
yeah.
It's not somewhere downstairs, is it?
Who knows?
Don't listen to me. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. I just gotta go down the
figure it
slide, which
out.
we'll watch the animation for, because apparently we have oodles and boatloads of time.
Oh yeah,
It's
the
like 30
animation is
seconds.
great. Yeah,
It's fun.
and
very
I'm
Shivers
really
too.
curious just to know, like, who created this museum and the arc. Like, did you want all of the tenants to find all these things where like there's just a trap door and then all of a sudden you just fall down this slide back to the main room? Like, whose idea was that? But anyway, in the vanilla game, you're not able to access this area and access this slide until the very, very end. And so you find the piece to the lightning pot at the bottom of this slide, which this is in the vanilla game indicates kind of the end of the game.
So, okay, I have Ash, and I know where Ash Bottom is.
Yep.
So now it's just a matter of going through the museum, looking at different places where pieces have been. Let's see,
Could it be in the...
Ash is here. Okay, so now we're gonna. I guess I'm gonna take the long way, and I'm gonna look at a bunch of pieces. Unless would I have left it in the library? Does that even make sense? No, I don't think so.
I would maybe check theater. I don't know.
I've left it in
I mean, yeah,
here?
you have to
No.
go up the one way and so yeah, you can check all these areas real fast, and that pretty much sweeps the entire upstairs, so it's got to be downstairs somewhere.
Yeah, probably. This is usually not a problem, but this happens. Actually, no, that's not true. The first run of the day, this always happens, where you forget.
This always happens, and
At least for me.
you have areas where you typically, at least when I run, I have areas that I like to keep set pop pieces, and so when I leave them in places that aren't my normal like default areas, that throws me off every single time.
Would it be a mask? I guess we're just gonna check every place. I have 4 minutes to make this underestimate. If I don't,
Absolutely.
this is gonna be the most embarrassing performance in my
It's
life.
gonna be fine. There's only a couple places left. Don't worry about it. But yeah,
Over
so with
here.
the vanilla game, there are 20 different locations that pop pieces can be found. With the randomizer, it's programmed to add
remember
additional
these.
locations that it can be.
I remember.
So that makes it all the harder that he was in theater.
It wasn't theater. Because I replaced it with wood, and then I that part of my brain just sort of left the building,
There
for a
you
second
go.
where like wood was lost and like
There we
the
go.
power
So
bottom was
we are
lost.
in go mode,
Yeah.
and once we get downstairs, we catch the big bad, and the lightning pot, the completed lightning pot, hits the bottom of the inventory. That's going to be time. So
Yep.
fantastic
I
run.
set that up.
Even with
14
all of
seconds
that.
from now.
Yep. Really, really, really great run.
And
The animation.
I'll skip this movie for a second just so that we can see the best newspaper of all time, which is it's the Mount Pleasant Tribune with glorious music and a dead girl who we talked to
Right.
earlier. We talked to Beth. So
Right, right.
anyway, yeah, I guess that's it for us. Thank you for hanging out. We do Shivers stuff in a Shivers Discord somewhere. I think it's linked on SRC. There's a lot of work that's happening right now, hopefully to do a lot more with sound skips and stuff like that. I'm hopefully going to break through on Vanilla World Record eventually, so that's happening soon. So
Oh yeah, you will. So there's currently 8 records in the Shivers community that are 8 different categories to speedrun this game. Gelly currently holds 6 out of 8 of those world records. So
yeah, I just don't touch 100%.
you know.
So
I think you that's my baby, man. Don't take
right.
my one record, okay?
Right, of course.
No, really, really great run. This game is so fun to speed run. I strongly encourage people to check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, but thank you, Retrothon, for having us, and have fun with the next run. Am I off? Hold on, I don't have Discord up. If you guys see me, this is a problem. Am I good? Am I bad? Am I good? Are we good? Are we good? Good? All good? Are we good?
I think we're definitely still live.
Are we still live?
So Shivers. Shivers is great.
I guess we could talk more about Shivers.
Right.
Heck yeah.